we have a part whereby you're going to be dealing with numerical values, and then there's a part whereby you're going to be dealing with variables. So we just have to be careful of the two. Which other instances we're going to be dealing with, like they will tell you, which, like for example, here they say in the diagram below we have a perpendicular, they say PQ. PQ is going to be perpendicular to the horizontal plane. Our horizontal plane is RQS. So this one is on the horizontal plane, and then they say which we have QS as X meters. It's not a mistake that they are calling them X meters. They are going to be using variables. Unlike the examples that we were doing yesterday, like in the morning we spoke about this one, if you remember. Here they are being specific. Here they're giving you which it's the following value. Here they're going to be using variables. That's the difference between the question that we were doing in the morning and then what we are going to be doing now. Okay. So let's try to get an idea which what does this thing look like in real life. So it's going to look something like this. So yeah, you have RQ. So person number 1, and then you also have person number 2. So here you can say this one here is R, this one here is Q, and then here you have S. So if you can check here, we have RQS. Can you see RQS again? RQS is on the horizontal plane. So our RQS is going to be on the horizontal plane. And then at the same time, we also have our PQR. So if you check PQR is going to be on the vertical plane. So you have P here, and then you have Q here, and then you also have R here. So in a real life situation, it will look something like this, more or less. Now, what's interesting here is that here, because we are dealing with only variables, we have alpha, we have beta, we have theta, and then we also have X here. So even if they, like, here they gave it to you as variables, it's given. If it's given in a variable form, it's given. If you look at the following triangle, for example, you are given theta and 90 degrees. So you have theta and 90 degrees. You don't know what is this side, you don't know what is this side, you also don't know what is that side. So for you to be able to use that triangle, it might be a little bit hard because you only have 2 things. Again, we said for you to be able to use a triangle, you need at least 3 things. So you have 2 things, they are not enough. Now, at the same time here, if we look at the triangle in the horizontal plane, so we can separate these 2 triangles. In fact, that's what they encourage us to do. They say, let's go in and separate them. You are going to have so you have P, you have Q, and then you have R. And then they say here we have theta. That's the first triangle, which is in the vertical plane. Okay? And then we also have another triangle in the horizontal plane. Our triangle in the horizontal plane is going to look something like this. So we have Q, we have R, and then we have S here. And then they say this here is alpha, and then this one here is beta. And then they also told us that the distance from here to here is going to be equal to what? To X. Now I'm saying, guys, this shouldn't confuse you. Just because it's given n as variable, it doesn't mean which is not given. It means which is given, it's just which is given as a what? As a variable. So something can be given as a numerical value, something can be given as a variable. Both of them are given. Now in this case here, as we said here, if you can check here, what is it that you are given in this triangle PQR? On triangle PQR, we're given theta, you're also given 190 degrees. So you're given 2 things. We can't use that triangle. If we go to this one here, let's check how many things are given. We're given this one again. We're given this one, and then we're also given what? X. So we're given 3 things. So it means the triangle that we're going to start to work with, because it has 3 things, we're going to start on the horizontal plane. Now we can then go to our question and check what is it that they are looking for. The first question, it says determine the length of RQ. So we're looking for the following. Determine the length of RQ in terms of alpha, beta, and X. So what you should have in your answer, you should have alpha, you should have beta, and then you should also have what? X. So those things need to be visible. That's what they want. So we're looking for this one. If we're looking for this one, we can say we are going to use the sign rule. Let's go to the information sheet. If we use our sign rule information sheet, it says we can come and use the following here. Now, which triangle are we going to use? We spoke about it. We're going to use the horizontal plane. Why the horizontal plane? Because it has three things again. Now, if we use the sine rule there, why the sine rule is because we can use the cos rule if we have two sides and an included angle. If we don't have two sides and an included angle, we don't use the cos rule. Or if you have three sides, you can use the cos rule if you have three sides or two sides and an included angle. So yeah, the only option that we have is going to our sine rule. So if we're going to use the sine rule there, let's come back to this thing here. They say we are looking forward for RQ again. So it needs to have RQ, this thing. If it needs to have RQ automatically goes with this one. Can you see that? So RQ is going to go with what? With beta. So if I'm going to use the sine rule here, I am going to say to them, okay, RQ all over the sine of beta is going to be given as. Now the other combination that I need something that is going to have alpha and what and x. Does that make sense? Yes. So which one is a combination of alpha and x? I'm going to take these two. If I take these two, I started with a sine, which here I'm going to have what? X. All over the sine of alpha. Now I'm going to make PQ as the subject of the formula. How do you make I'm going to make RQ as the subject of the formula. If you wanted to make QR the subject here, what are you going to do? You're going to cross multiply. If you cross multiply, it says, I want us to write it here so that we see everything here. So we have RQ, which is going to, if you cross multiply, this one goes there again. So you're going to have X multiplied by the sine of beta all over the sine of R. So they'll give us a mark for being able to do something like this. First mark is going to be using the sine rule and substituting correctly. They are going to give us a mark for that. Because they said we need to write RQ and then we need to have theta. Do we have alpha? Let's check that we have alpha. Do we have beta? Yes, we have beta. Do we have x? Yes, we have x. So we needed to name this thing in terms of all those three variables that are there. Hence, show that PQ. So we're looking for PQ now. And then we're going to check which triangle is going to give us PQ. Which triangle is giving us PQ is this one. Okay? But remember, guys, we already know something here. We already decided to say what is going to be RQ. So if we don't want to write this thing as RQ, we can come and say RQ is going to be given as X multiplied by the sine of beta all over the sine of R. This is stage one. If we've already agreed to say that RQ, our RQ can be given as the following, they are saying, go and show us that PQ is going to be given as the X sine of beta multiplied by beta. I think it's clear on everyone. Okay? So what is it that we want to have? We want to have the tan of beta. We also want to have the sine of alpha. Also want to have the X and the sine of beta. And then you can already see that we already have half of those things there. We already have X, we already have X here. Okay? We have the sine of beta, we already have the sine of beta here. We have the sine of alpha, we already have the what then? The sine of alpha. What seems to be missing is the tan of theta. Now, how do we get the tan of theta? We have a right angle triangle. This thing here is a right angle triangle. If it's a right angle triangle, then we have the adjacent side. This is the adjacent side. And then we are looking for the opposite side. Then we're going to use SOHCAHTOA. If we use SOHCAHTOA, then we'll come and say, okay, TOA, opposite all over adjacent. Then we can then say the tan of theta is going to be given as opposite. What is opposite? Opposite way to is PQ. All over, what is our adjacent side? We know what's our adjacent side right now. Right? So we can, for now, let's simply write it this way. We can write it as RQ. And then we cross multiply. We want to be left with only PQ because they said PQ should be the subject. According to them, they said PQ should be a subject. Then I'm going to have PQ, which is going to be equal to the tan of theta. Now I know what is this whole thing here. What is this whole thing here? Remember that it's going to be multiplied by the sine. It's X multiplied by the sine of beta all over the sine of alpha. This and this are exactly identical. And it doesn't matter whether you start with tan or you start with, but let's put it in a correct way, the way they want it. We're going to tell them that PQ is going to be given as x multiplied by the sine of beta multiplied by the tan of theta all over the sine of alpha. And then with that being said, I think we can safely say we are done for our lesson today. Then we'll come and do the following as our activity. Let's come and do the following. And then we should be done for today, guys. I think, let me give it to you as a